gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's January the 20th, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented once again this morning by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And man, we got a few things that we're supposed to talk about today, but I got to tell you, like, I'm really torn. I don't know what to do. I know I'm a little too sensitive, but there's a guy named Elijah Kariuki who is one of our loyal viewers each morning, and he posted something in the YouTube comments yesterday that like wounded me. Like, I may need to go to therapy like over this. Seriously.
You're not already in therapy?
No.
You need an extra session. You need an extra session.
No, I'm not in therapy, but I may need to go to therapy after this. He says that his only advice for me is not to steal your thunder. Okay. So like, I'm like, man, like, I get it. Like, there's this, Matt Shodell cult that has formed on YouTube and throughout the internet. I get that they love you and they think you're funny and all these things. But man, like to say that I steal your thunder, I mean, like, I don't know really, like what am I supposed to do? Just like sit here and just say nothing every morning? Any advice on that front?
I mean, look, I create different handles. I post different things about you using different handles. I wouldn't take it personally what I posted about you. I mean, I did mean it. You did steal my thunder. When I wrote that, yesterday morning, I was a little angry. But look, it is what it is. And I think I would urge every Miami Hurricane fan who's followed the team for more than 15 years, if you're not in therapy, you should be in therapy. It's not, when we were younger, when we were kids, it was viewed negatively. Now it's sort of hip. It's like the cool thing to do. So yeah, highly recommend it.
And then Mike Stahl calls me the great interrupter. Like, the great interrupter. Like, he doesn't understand how much discipline it would take on a daily basis. And I'm admittedly half asleep at this hour of the day. I mean, getting up at 5 a.m. to do this show is not the easiest thing in the world. But like, it would take so much discipline for me to sit here and listen to all of the things that come out of your mouth on a daily basis and never interrupt. Like, how am I supposed to not interrupt? Okay. How am I supposed to stay out of your way? I was thinking of resigning from the show. I really was.
I'm trying. No, I resign. I get to resign first. I've been trying to get off this show forever. Like, what? You're not leaving the show before I do. There's no way, man.
Well,
I mean, listen. Just so you guys know, just so everyone out there in the YouTube verse knows, like, Gary and I, although I'm sure to you, it appears this show has been meticulously planned down to the second, exactly what we're going to say. And there's a script that we're each following. Believe it or not, we just like show up. Gary like sort of knows what stories are on the site. I don't even look. And he like picks 2 or 3 things to talk about. So I have no idea why we're even talking about this. But I will tell you, Gary, and I would like to do, there was a comment yesterday. There's one person who wants me to do a restaurant review. So at some point this morning, I'll give my restaurant review.
Okay, not now, though, because we got to get to the news of the day. If we're going to stay on the show, we got to get to the news of the day.
Because I know we don't go over the whole plan of the thing, but save a couple of, maybe save 5 seconds for my restaurant review.
Yeah, later on. But here's what brought me in this morning. When I looked at a comment from PF, and he called you Matt the Mouth, okay? And I really like that, man. Matt the Mouth, like, that got me fired up and brought me back this morning. And there was another comment that by a guy named Michael Becker that should make you feel pretty good. And he says, Matt, I'm sorry, but I appreciate your intelligence, so don't go anywhere. How about that? That was really nice, Mike. I got to thank you for being so nice to Matt on that one. All right. News of the day. We got an interesting story on the website this morning that I think is worthy of some discussion, some thought, not just by us, but by you guys that are listening. And that is the best way to describe it, I think, would be a look from the inside at recruiting in the NIL era and how it can pertain to the Miami Hurricanes. And the origins of this was a conversation that Matt, I got to give him credit, had with a local area high school coach shortly after signing day. I think it was the day after signing day. And we're going to keep this coach anonymous because he said some pretty provocative things, but he was very, very honest about how this frenzy over money in the NIL era is polluting everything in recruiting college football. And I think we kind of knew that, but I think the thing that's getting shocking is some of the numbers that are being thrown around. Now, there was a $13 million figure used with Jaden Rashada, and that Florida offered him a $13 million package to bail on Miami in recruiting, which he did. And then they reneged on it, which got him to back out of it. Whatever. That can't possibly be an accurate number, $13 million. But the numbers are up there. I mean, kids are getting 7-figure deals, and it's out of control. And this particular coach talked to us about on signing day, his kids are getting phone calls. I'll give you $500,000 not to sign this morning with Miami, and reopen your recruitment and consider us. And just like ridiculous amounts of money being thrown around. And so, Matt, let me start, I guess, with you and just get your general thoughts on this subject and on what this coach had to say.
Well, I talked about it a little yesterday, so let's I'll go on a tangent a little bit because I never do that. So I'm going to do that just this once. So let's just use an example for no particular reason, the University of Florida, okay? Let's call that a business entity because let's face it, colleges now are businesses. They're in the business of winning football games. They're in the business of making money for their school through the football program. That's what they're about. So they have employees, and the employees are, let's just call them football players for the sake of argument, okay? So here's what NIL has done. Here's what the NCAA geniuses have created. They've said a high school student athlete, a future employee of the school of the University of Florida, we're using as an example. Okay, they're saying, well, you can't sign a contract until you've signed with your employer, University of Florida. Okay, but we all know they get offered money, just not officially, because legally you can't sign. That's the NCAA rule. That's the law of the land right now. If you're a high school senior from the state of Florida, you can't sign a $13 million deal before you sign with your employer. That's the rule. Okay, so this is a business. Can you imagine in real life, okay, Gary, that you get offered, let's just say $1 million. You get offered $1 million by an employer at some company, University of Florida. You say, I take it. They say, okay, you're going to sign that you are now beholden to us. We own you. We own your rights. And then we'll decide if we're actually going to give you the $1 million. You sign with your employer. And then the employer representatives say, we changed our mind. You've signed with us. Now you have to come to the school or go through this whole crazy rigmarole to get out of the contract you signed and try to find some other company to work for. That's what they did. That's what they did. It makes no sense in real life. It's like a fantasy world, what they've created. If you're going to do it this way, why can't, you're supposed to be representing the student athlete. This is all about the good of the student athlete, they say. NIL's for the good of everybody. Well, then let the student athlete sign, maybe have a 1-week signing before signing day where they can sign an NIL deal. Is that so hard to create? let's do something right for once. For once, let a company, the University of Florida, sign the contract first. And then the student athlete can sign at the same time, a week later, whatever. But like, let the student athlete be in charge. This is the one you're supposed to be helping out so much, right? NCAA, it's a joke. And the story on the website this morning, by the way, just shows what a joke it is. Because on signing day, this coach was getting calls from schools that his student athletes hadn't even taken visits to, saying, we've got $500,000 if he just doesn't sign with the school he's committed to and he's planning to sign with today. Just tell him not to sign. We got $500,000. Tell him put it off. Come visit in January. I mean, it's ridiculous. The whole system is broken. It's worse than it was before student athletes could make money, quite honestly, because it's not fun as a reporter to cover it. It's not fun as a fan to just see business people running in and out of your program about the money, not about the school. It used to be all about school spirit, right? I mean, can you imagine if fans could get paid to be fans for other schools? How about that? How about that?
That's pretty cool.
How about Alabama's going to pay all the Miami fans $100 a game to root for Alabama instead of Miami? We can all be NIL people too. I mean, that's what this is.
You know, we're seeing a lot of craziness with the Cormani McClain recruitment. And, you know, I'm sure money's come into play there, at least initially. And now other stuff has come into play there. God knows what's going on with Cormani. I wonder if Jaden Rashada at this point, now that he's having to get divorced from Florida, wishes that he had just sat tight, not been greedy, been happy. I mean, he got a NIL deal with Life Wallet, John Ruiz, when he's in high school. Okay. He had a NIL deal.
That's right. That, and just to clarify, that's because he's from California.
Correct.
Florida athletes can't do that.
They can't do that. But he had an NIL deal because he's from California for 6 months. You know, Miami's NIL was loyal to Jaden Rashada. If he had just shown the loyalty back, he would have gotten another NIL deal with Life Wallet because it would have gotten renewed, extended, expanded. Now that he's coming to actually play for Miami.
Right. And by the way, the reason, you know, John Ruiz could have, just because he's from California, said, here's $13 million. The reason he wouldn't do that is because you can do that, but on Jaden Rashada's end, there's nothing on his end that says, I have to go to Miami. So now you're giving a kid $13 million to maybe still go to Florida, to maybe still go somewhere else. That's why in the current system, you're not seeing a California student athlete sign an NIL deal with a college program's representative, because you can't say when you haven't signed yet that in the contract, this is based on me going to that school. That's not allowed, you know, but he could have signed a $13 million deal with John Ruiz and gone to Florida. I mean, that's the reality of it. And he did sign a deal with John Ruiz and did wind up committing to Florida. That, you know, that's the whole thing. Again, it's just this convoluted circle of who has power, who has control. And the truth is, it's 99.9%. The control has gone into the hands of the employers.
He also reneged on the deal. He never showed up for his marketing shoots and things like that with Life Wallet. He collected money from them for many months and then didn't fulfill his end of the deal. So I imagine that Life Wallet, within its rights, can go ask for that money back.
Well, I don't know if he didn't show up or showed up. You know, he's from California. Was he supposed to fly down here? I don't know.
Yes, he was. He had an appointment. Yes, he had an appointment with them to fly in the weekend of the Florida State game and fulfill his Life Wallet responsibilities. And obviously, he was going to attend the Florida State game. And he called in sick and never showed up. And then I think it was about a week later that he flipped over to the Florida Gators. I'm wondering if right now Jaden Rashada and his family are wishing, you know what? We had a pretty good deal with Miami. We had a pretty good deal with Life Wallet. We should have just been happy and not gotten greedy and caught up in all the baloney. And now God knows where he's going to end up, and God knows what NIL deal he's going to get. So there is a lesson for all you high school players out there in how you handle your business is important. Speaking of which, Matt, there's another little angle in this story that I wanted to bring up, and that is the notion of parents in some cases, and I know this for a fact. The parents want the money worse than the kids because the parents want their cut, and that's evolving into glorified human trafficking. Parents are trafficking their kids for NIL money, and making them go to certain schools based on NIL deals as opposed to where the kids want to go to school. Matt, I have a major problem with this. If we're fathers, we have kids. If our kids are making money, are you interested in taking a cut of your kids' money? Hell no. That money is your son's money, and no parents out there have any business, skimming off of it. Now, I understand that there are some extenuating circumstances, and families are very, very, very challenged financially, and they need the money. Okay, and that's a little different situation. Okay, if you're a kid and your mom is struggling to put food on the table and is a single parent and can use help, and you're able to make a few $100,000 and you want to give a nice chunk of it to your mom, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when the parents take over the whole thing and control the money. And Matt, I think that is just flat wrong.
I'm a parent. I think that if I was going to guide, look, I get it, because if you're a parent, you understand your child is not invincible. 17 and 18-year-olds think they will never get injured. They think they will be the best player in the history of college football. They will be in the NFL as a first-round draft pick. They don't know the life lessons that as parents we know. There are going to be struggles. It's not going to be easy. You might not start at all in college. So this is why, everyone wants to criticize the parents. I understand why parents are saying, listen, son, you need to get your money now. You need to get the most money you can get now, because you don't know what the future is going to hold. All these programs have great coaches.
Time out. I have to interrupt you. Okay. What you're saying is great, all well and good, but you're not talking about what I was just talking about. I'm not talking about parents telling their kids to take NIL money and put it away for the future. You don't know what your future is going to be, whether you're going to make the NFL. I'm talking about parents taking their kids' NIL money for themselves.
Well, how are you? I don't understand what you mean by that. They're just keeping the money.
Parents are cutting the deals and taking chunks of it for themselves, not at the wish of their kids.
You know what? When I'm a parent, if I get $1 million for my son and I keep it all for myself, in another 5 or 10 years, when I die of old age, they'll get the money anyway. What the hell's the difference? Still their money.
You guys out there, now you see why this is impossible for me. Okay, this is like every morning.
You're assuming
through this show.
You're assuming parents. It's a ridiculous question, because you're assuming parents don't have the best interest of their children at heart. I'm not that way. Like if I'm going to take the money, if I'm going to take the money and not give it to them, it's because I want to invest it for their future, because I know what they'll spend it on: candy, going to eat hamburgers at Locale, and baseball cards. That's what my children would spend the money on. I will invest it for them. I will not give it to them. So listen, I'm going to trust the parents to do the right thing. Maybe there are some that won't.
But are you taking chunks of it to pay your mortgage?
In my personal situation, would I need to?
Are you taking chunks of it?
Of course I'm not. But if
go on vacation?
Of course no. But listen, if you're a parent and if you need to pay your mortgage with that money, you sit down your child and you talk to them about it. That conversation should have been had before this process even started. It's called being a responsible parent, Gary. Somebody who thinks like you probably isn't a responsible parent, because it never even occurred to me that you would just steal from your child. That's insane to me.
I'm not talking about the single moms out there that are struggling and they're working and they have to take care of their kids and there's no dad in the house, and those kids grow up wanting to take care of their moms. They would give every penny to their moms if they can, and they are to be applauded for that. And hopefully they make so much money that they can take care of their moms and take care of themselves too. And many of them do, but not all of them do. And, we're talking about, I just want to be clear, I'm talking about something totally different. I'm talking about parents essentially trafficking their kids for money when their kids don't care about the money. They just have a place they want to go to school and they just want to be left alone to be college kids, and there's
that. But guess what? That's been created artificially. This is why I said this is negating Mario Cristobal's advantage as a recruiter, because a student athlete will want to naturally come to Miami. Great city, great program, great school, great coaches, personable coaches who work round the clock to recruit you, make you feel comfortable. Yet this NIL situation might make them need to go somewhere else because their parents need the money for a mortgage. Like you said, there's no easy answer to these questions. The answer is individually for each recruit to sit down with their parents, with their family, and discuss it. And the student athlete at the end of the day might say, listen, Miami won't even offer me money, but I really want to go there. Can you guys make ends meet? And the family might say, yes. I don't know the answer to all these cases. All I know is it makes it a lot harder for a great recruiter to do what he does because there's these other mitigating circumstances out there that are working, against you. It's butting heads with what you're trying to accomplish as a recruiter in college now.
All right. Well, it's an interesting subject, and we touch on it in the story that's on the website today. And I'm curious to know what all you guys out there think about it. And I hope you guys will go to the War Room message boards at CaneSport.com and discuss this a little bit because it's a very interesting subject that is very much alive right now in college football as money takes over the sport, and that's just a fact. Okay, another story on the website today: our CaneSport 30 for 30, our look at ranking the top 30 Miami Hurricanes with 30 or more reps of experience, continues today with number 14. Zion Nelson. And Matt, in retrospect, it's kind of interesting that we ranked Zion number 14 because as we sit here today, we really don't know. Well, we don't know for sure that Zion's going to be able to play again. And we certainly don't know what position he's going to play and what his role is going to be. The whole situation at offensive line for Miami is in total flux. Now, in an ideal situation, I think they would like to play Jalen Rivers. They would like to play Zion Nelson. Obviously, Javion Cohen from Alabama is going to be a starter. Matt Lee from UCF is going to be a starter. That's 4 right there. Then you got, the Matthew McCoys of the world, the Ennis Coopers of the world. So that's 6 guys right there that I think that Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal would love for those 6 guys to be the nucleus of their offensive line at the beginning of the season next year. And then you take the freshmen and you work them into the rotation. You don't put all the pressure on them and have to be starters. Okay. So I think that's the ideal world, Matt. And so the question for us here as it pertains to this show for starters, before we dive into Zion Nelson, is do you think that's reality? Can they get to a place in September where those 6 veteran guys with experience are forming the nucleus of their line and they're not having to throw one of these freshmen out there?
Yeah. And I mean, look, we found out last night that one of the freshmen, Cormani McLean, flipped to Colorado. So, this stuff happens. Like they're going to lose people, not just in recruiting like that. You have a 5-star who recruits, a 5-star who you commit to, a program, then you flip. There's also transfer portal guys that Miami's chased, can't get, but there's another portal window that opens. It's all just about just the grind. You got to keep on with the grind. And on the offensive line, they've totally reshaped their line through the portal, but they still need a receiver. They might take another cornerback. Well, they will take another cornerback. There's still other people they need, and what you can't get in recruiting, get through the portal. I think you muted yourself. Gary Ferman actually muted himself.
Oh, yeah, I did. I accidentally hit the mute button.
I like that.
Yeah, listen.
You can make that a thing. Instead of putting tape over your mouth, just hit the button.
Just hit the button. Yeah,
a lot easier.
Yeah, it is. So Zion Nelson's had these knee problems now. He's had, I think, multiple surgeries. Try to clean it up.
All right, we're talking about Zion. I forgot we're talking about Zion. You asked me about personnel. Zion, the reason he was in the top 5, I think, at this time last year in our rankings, and he's 14 because we don't know. Like you said, we don't know. But they did reshape the whole line through the portal, through recruiting, and again, every year now you can just add pieces, lose pieces. Have 5-stars commit that decommit. I mean, the whole thing is just out of whack to what we're used to.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Zion. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the O-line. But like I said, in an ideal world, I think the coaches would like to start the season with the older guys and be able to work in the young kids as they go forward. Like that's definitely the optimal way of approaching it. All right, we still have other things to talk about today, but first let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
Hey sis, want to play one-on-one? What about 3-on-3? Let's do it. You're not Haley. Wait a minute.
Life Wallet user not detected.
I knew it.
Secure your health information and privacy with Life Wallet. Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
All right, Matt, before we talk a little bit about the recruiting stuff that's on the website today, let's touch on this Cormani McClain flip now.
There's nothing to talk about.
Well, I mean, like, you don't have anything to say to put it to bed? Like, nothing's still bothering you about the whole thing? Or
No, because listen, I told you this is just going to keep happening, but he literally didn't tell his own coaches to the point that they had a cake on his table at signing day with a U on it that he didn't show up for, and his teammates and the people in the audience wound up eating the cake. He visited Colorado without telling his own coaches or Miami coaches, who sent their entire defensive staff up on Friday when he was on his way to Colorado for a visit. The whole thing is about money. It's about money. We talked about it already. It's like I said, this is what I was talking about when I said it's hard to recruit. It's hard to be a great recruiter now, because the truth is Mario Cristobal won the recruiting battle with Cormani McClain. He did not win the money battle for Cormani McClain, and that it is what it is. Like, there's only so much money that a John Ruiz is going to value a person at. He has his formula, and that's the number. And if somebody wants to go way above that, they go way above that. There's only so much you can do.
yeah, and I'm not a believer of blowing out the salary cap either for one kid. That's not really proven. I mean, I love the accolades and all that, but Cormani McClain is an unproven cornerback, and he had a decent high school career, but you don't know how he's going to really be at the college game. And you can't just go and blow out your budgets and stuff on NIL for this one kid that is, a cornerback that you have no idea what he's going to be like as a college player. So I don't know. I've been pretty clear on this one. I'm glad that he's not coming to Miami. I think he was way too big of a distraction. I didn't like the way he disrespected Miami on signing day, and let him go to Colorado. And my guess is you won't be hearing too much about him, down the road. You're not going to be watching Colorado play on weekends. And I don't, once they get past this whole novelty of the Deion Sanders show, I'm not so sure too many other people around the country are going to be watching Colorado very much either.
In retrospect, by the way, how great would it have been if Mario Cristobal just stood up at that Sunday press conference and said, "The class is done. We will not be adding anybody else."
That's what I thought he should have done.
In retrospect, I'm sure he wishes he did. In retrospect,
I mean, they're still in the battle for Nicholas Harbor, who's a freak athlete, world-class sprinter in track. It's looking to me like that's a Miami-Oregon battle down the wire here. I can't make a prediction right now who's going to win. I mean, when you look at the track angle and the fact that he's just such a dynamic track star, you might be inclined to give a little bit of the edge to Oregon because of Phil Knight and Nike. But I know Miami's been in there very competitive as well, and Miami brings a lot to the table for Nicholas Harbor too. So it's going to be an interesting decision to see what happens. We're watching close to see if he makes that Oregon official visit next weekend on the final weekend of recruiting. That will be a very telling sign, most likely, and he's expected to announce on February the 1st. All right. Couple recruiting stories. One of this weekend's visitors, and reminder, you got Battle 7-on-7 tournament in town Saturday and Sunday. You got junior days at Miami. It is going to be a parade of prospects coming through town. We will do our best to cover it all for you. We've already started with stories on some of these kids. Today, we have a story on 4-star tight end and LSU commit Tavion Galloway. And it's a really interesting story, Matt, because this is a kid that's committed to LSU, but he grew up a Miami fan because his dad was a Miami fan, and he grew up watching Miami. And now that Miami's recruiting him, that is allowing the Canes to get into the mix and definitely have a chance to get on the radar. He is coming to town, and they got a chance to really get in there this weekend.
Look, I think anybody who's committed at this point to any school should be referred to as a strong lean to that school. I would not call anybody a commitment. So this strong lean, Miami's in the picture with a strong lean, and they could certainly be right up there. You know, there's no reason right now as these different student athletes from out of state get their first real look at Miami's program. I don't understand the rush to be a strong lean somewhere for some of these student athletes, other than just to sort of have that as their backup. You know, I remember there's been several student athletes that have told me in the past that they wanted to commit early in case they had some sort of devastating career-ending injury. Apparently, they claim, I don't know if this is true or not, I've never asked a Miami coach, but they claim that once they've committed, that school's bound by some moral authority known only to the school to accept them and give them a full scholarship they wouldn't count against the limit, obviously, that's the NCAA rule, but the school would have to honor the full scholarship for 4 years to get their degree, or just to get their degree, which I don't know that that's true, but this seems to be what student athletes believe for some reason. I don't know if it's because different coaches told them that in the past. I actually will look into that at some point if schools actually do that. You know, the only close case that I've heard of that was Curtis Justice, who came to Miami basically as a commitment with a career-ending injury and never wound up doing anything here except sort of helping at practices, and they did get him his degree. So maybe it is true, but that's the only real reason to me why you would even want to consider committing anywhere at this point.
All right, so Canes get their shot this weekend with Tavion Galloway. Another kid that's going to be on campus is Palm Beach Gardens Benjamin School cornerback Ricky Knight III. We check in with him, see what he's thinking about Miami. We've got an update on St. Thomas Aquinas wide receiver James Madison II. We're even looking at 2025 and 2026 kids with stories on tight end Brock Harris out of Utah and Orange County, California, star quarterback TJ Lateef, who have both added Miami offers in the recent days. So a whole lot going on in recruiting, and we've got our whole team grinding morning, afternoon, and night to bring you as much coverage of it as is humanly possible. And that will continue big time this weekend with so many kids coming into town. And then we'll obviously extend past the weekend into next week and probably even the week after when you look at just the volume that we're talking about here this weekend. And we'll have more on that here in the next day at CaneSport.com. All right, that's going to do it for Good Morning CaneSport.
No, wait, what?
Oh, restaurant review. Sorry.
Yeah, this is actually perfect because those people who do not want my restaurant review, you can just go on with your day. You know, that's it for today. Go home. Blah blah blah. Whatever the hell Gary tells you guys. I never pay attention. I always sign off before his little speech at the end. So, and you could leave too, Gary, if you want. I'll just do my restaurant review right now. This is my inaugural.
All right.
Kane, are you actually leaving?
Yeah.
No, don't leave. What's wrong with him? I'm bringing him back. Just so we can see his reaction. Just so we can see how horrified. Oh, this is even better on the left side. Just so people can see how horrified you are at my review. I'm leaving you on the screen. All right. I'm going to start this off because this will be a recurrent series.
Wait, timeout. I can't. I don't. I got to be on the left side. I can't. This
will be unless people actually like this. We'll do this like once a year as a special treat for me because no one else is going to want this. I'm going to preface it by saying, and I just typed while Gary was talking during the show. Actually, if you noticed me, I was like looking at the side of my screen and typing. I actually typed up some notes for my restaurant review because I didn't know if Gary would actually let me do it. So this is all based during this show. I wrote the review basically. So I'm going to start it off as a general theme of whenever I do restaurant reviews. Okay, I'm not going to say this every time, just this one time. All right. If you talk to a Miami player, what they're preached to do every single day is to gain 1%, right? Get 1% better, gain 1%. That's their thing. So my message to you out there listening to my restaurant review is if you actually listen to my restaurant review, you will lose 1% of your body fat a day. That's how bad my reviews are going to be and how much you will not want to eat after hearing my horrible reviews, okay? We're going to call this segment, Shodell doesn't only suck at covering football, but also at sucking down food. Came up with that while Gary was doing some spiel about something that I wasn't paying attention to. And the subhead on that is you don't want to hear Shodell's inaccurate restaurant review. Okay, so today's restaurant review is a mall in the Grove. And the reason I picked a mall is because I have a few general rules when I pick a restaurant. One general rule is that if the restaurant does not publish its prices on the website, it's going to be good if it's combined with dishes that you cannot pronounce. Okay, and in this case, a mall passes both those tests. They have a Nabolski salad. They have a halloumi. They have a batata hara. And they have a spinach fatayr and a kibbeh, sujuk, all this crazy stuff. They even have something called my personal favorite. This is my personal favorite. They call it the. And I'm not making this up. We argued over how to pronounce it. I think it's pronounced fattoush salad, but it may be pronounced fat tush salad. It could go either way. I'm not quite sure, but it was delicious. So get the fat tush salad. Ask for it just like that. Say, I want the fat tush salad. They prefer you ask that way. All right, so here's what happened when I got to a mall, first of all. Oh, and also the other thing, if you have no prices on the website, okay, stuff you can't pronounce, and if the restaurant has 4 letters in the entire name of the restaurant or less, that's like a winning formula. That's like, a quarterback who can run, throw, and conduct good interviews. It's the trifecta, okay? General rule of thumb. Okay, now, we showed up to this restaurant. This is a true story, okay? This is what actually happened. We show up to this restaurant, and we're meeting 2 other people because, God forbid, my wife has to spend time with me just by herself. But my wife and I get there first, and we walk in, and it's one of these fancy, schmancy, sort of really upscale restaurants. And the hostess looks at me with a horrified look. I don't know. I guess I was whatever, either this or what I was wearing. I don't know. Then she looks down at her book after I tell her, Shodell, party of 4, whatever. And she, oh yeah, that's it. That's it. But we went at night. And then she says to me, she didn't say to me, but she called over the person. There's a person who comes to bring you to your table, right? Because the hostess doesn't just talk to you. She doesn't bring you to the table. She just talks to you initially, and then they bring somebody to take you to your table. And she says to the person who's coming to bring us to the table, we're moving them from table 4 to table 9. Whatever. I didn't think twice about it until we got to table 9. I kid you not, Gary. We get to table 9, and there's a huge handicap placard on the table. Not a joke. Not a joke. I took a picture of it with my friend as a that's now when he calls me on the phone. That's the picture that pops up as him with this giant handicap placard. It was the only handicap placard table in the entire restaurant. I thought that was maybe accurate, but also very, very wrong to do that. The food, okay. The food was excellent. The fat tush, highly recommend it. It was actually the best hummus I've ever had in my life. I have a feeling they put something illegal in there. And everything was delicious. And, so this is the last segment. This is the last part of my segment. Okay, now I rate it. So the seating situation, the hostess, I'm giving them half a U, but the food, I'm giving the full U to. So, yeah. So overall, Amal got a full U. That's it. That's my whole horrible Shodell's inaccurate restaurant review. Shodell sucks at not just covering football, but sucking down food. That's it. I'm done. I hope everybody hated that, so I never have to do that again. It wasn't fun to come up with that. It certainly wasn't fun to have to say it all out loud and realize how bad it sounded after it came out of my mouth. But that's it. I'm done.
Oh, is the review that the place is good? I mean, I'm looking at the menu. It's interesting.
The food is outstanding. It really is. Yeah, we had octopus. Everything we had there was fantastic. It really was. And now they have a rooftop. So if you want to get there early, go up to the rooftop, which I don't know what they call that. It's a different place. You cannot order the same food. But get up there for the sunset, have a couple of drinks at the bar up on the roof, then go downstairs for dinner. And if you're not already married, it's guaranteed to be a winner. If you're already married, why waste the money? Let's face it. Just order in.
All right.
You don't even listen. That was my test. You don't even listen.
I'm sending it to the wife. It looks like an interesting place. So I'm.
I literally just said, "Don't take your wife there." So that's okay. Yeah. You can replay it. You can replay it in a couple of hours and see what I actually.
Yeah, I don't get the opportunity to say, "Hey, I'm going down to Coconut Grove to a mall for dinner without you, honey." You know, like, come on.
That's not what I said. What I said is, it may not be worth. I'm not going to repeat it. You can watch it back. I'm not going over it again.
About the cost?
No, don't worry about it. Have a great day, everybody.
Maybe you didn't listen. Suggesting there's hot babes up at the bar.
Are there
hot babes at the bar on the upstairs?
No. You were much better off not having heard it anyway, so I'm not going back over it. Let's go. We're done. We're done. I'm ready to work out. Let's go.
I was looking at the website. I wasn't like I wasn't ignoring you. I was just like, I was intrigued by the place. Looks like a nice place. I like the picture.
Really good food. Yeah.
All right. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you so much for joining us. If you like the show, like our YouTube channel, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube, grow our audience, and that is appreciated. And if you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please become one. Your subscriptions allow us to do what we do for you every single day. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you again, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.